All right, for those of you who saw our 49ers power rankings, position group by position group for the 49ers offense, now it's time to move on to defense. And even if you haven't seen offense, well, you could watch it after this video. But it's a good time to reset the 49ers roster. Take a look at the depth chart that I have prepared for you. I've tossed into the description and the comments section. It is right here. I'll put it right up on the screen. There you can see it. 49ers defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. 4 position groups. The way that we're going to do this is power rankings. So we're going to rank the position groups starting with number 4, moving down to number 1. So without further ado, here we go. 49ers weakest position group on defense, and this is delivered with an asterisk because there aren't many weaknesses on this 49ers defense. It's the number 1 unit in football coming out of the 2022 season, and I think it's gotten only better, at least along the front line. So anyway, number 4, without further ado, the cornerbacks. Let's take a look at this position group. Charvarius Ward's obviously the leader here, but Diamante Lenoir, although he surged to end last season, including the playoffs, has some more proving to do. Right now, we have Lenoir penciled into that top cornerback spot opposite of Ward. And we have Isaiah Oliver, the free agent pickup from Atlanta, penciled into the nickelback spot to replace the other Ward. There no longer is Ward squared with the 49ers. Jimmy Ward is in Houston. So Isaiah Oliver, who's played well at the nickel position for the Falcons, he started his career as an outside cornerback, but it just doesn't have the straight line speed to excel on the outside. He's really good in the slot, though. Oliver is going to have to use this as a proving grounds for the 49ers. If Charvarius Ward replicates last season's performance, Diamante Lenoir maintains last season's momentum, and Isaiah Oliver does what he did in Atlanta as the nickelback down the stretch of his tenure there, the 49ers are going to be fine. But obviously, depth is an issue because players get hurt. The 49ers know this from experience. And if players do get hurt, well, a lot of players have a lot to prove. Ambry Thomas was MIA last year after the great rookie season. A.J. Parker, I don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. I think Samuel Womack will. He was a big-time special teams contributor last year. He'll be a backup nickel. And then you have players like Quantrez Knight and Trey Swilling. Looks like the 49ers could still use a nice, good pickup in the defensive backfield. Maybe one of their 11 draft picks is targeted in that direction. All right, so the cornerbacks are number 4. Moving up in the rankings to number 3, the safeties. And when we look at the safety position, Tashawn Gipson needs a lot of respect. Tashawn Gipson ranked number 1 in missed tackle rate amongst safeties last year, and he ranked number 2 amongst safeties in passer rating allowed into his coverage. This is a top 2 safety by those 2 metrics last year. I'm not saying it's a top 2 safety talent-wise, speed-wise, whichever way you look at it, but effectiveness from Tashawn Gipson within the context of the 49ers scheme was awesome. And he paired really, really well with Talanoa Hufanga, who is an all-pro. Here we have another look at the 49ers depth chart. You look at Hufanga and Gipson, their safeties 1 and 2 respectively. George Odom is back, great special teams player. Taylor Hawkins, time for him to take a step forward. I mean, Jimmy Ward, no longer on this team, can't provide depth at either nickel or at safety. So Taylor Hawkins is going to be counted on to at least compete for a spot on that 53-man roster. They did sign Miles Hartsfield, who's a versatile defensive back, played under new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks in Carolina. Hartsfield can play that nickel. He can play the safety position, maybe even corner in a pinch, but we'll see if Hartsfield makes the team coming off a minimum contract signing with the 49ers. I love the front line situation at safety for the time being, but Tashawn Gipson is going to be 33 years old. So the 49ers need a contingency plan at safety, and I think they're going to use one of their draft picks on a safety of the future. Problem is they don't pick till number 99. Hasn't been a problem for the 49ers in general. Their scouting department, their front office has done a good job with these mid to late round picks, but you do have to line up that succession plan for Tashawn Gipson, as I think was clearly illustrated in that depth chart. All right, we're moving on to number 2. Who is going to be number 1, by the way? If you have an idea, there's only 2 position groups left. It's going to be either defensive line or linebacker. Right now, you can put it in the chat section. Who do you think is going to win position group number 1 in the power rankings at this point of April? So it doesn't really matter, but it's good for discussion fodder. Let me know in the chat section. I'm about to divulge the winner right now because once I tell you who number 2 is, you'll know who number 1 is. So we go cornerbacks number 4, safeties number 3, number 2, the 49ers defensive line. Javon Hargrave is going to be paired up with Nick Bosa. So obviously, you know who number one is, but we'll get to that in a little bit. 49ers D line, though, I mean, this is going to be good. You take a look at this group up here, especially 1 through 4, already looking strong. Nick Bosa on the edge, Eric Armstead on the inside. If he can be healthy, which he wasn't last year, the plantar fasciitis, he is a force, and it's going to be really hard to take care of Eric Armstead on the inside, along with Javon Hargrave, who's a better pass rusher than DeForest Buckner. The 49ers, it's come full circle for them. Obviously, Buckner was a big loss after 2019. Hargrave has better pass rushing metrics across the board. This is the big three: Bosa, Armstead, and Hargrave. Will it be the big four with Drake Jackson? We'll see. But the 49ers need Jackson to make big strides because they've lost the snap production of Charles Omenihu, of Sansa Ebukam, of Jordan Willis. Drake Jackson had, 300 to 400 snaps last year? I think he only had like 300 last year. So Drake Jackson's going to have to get up into that 500 to 600 range. You're going to have to show that he's stronger physically this year to be able to handle a bigger load. But boy, I mean, Drake was impressive last year at the start of the year. I mean, he's talented. He's got the bend. He has the skill set. He just has to play the run better. He has to develop that man strength for the NFL level. And that job, the road is going to be paved for him. Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave, the road is paved for Drake Jackson. He doesn't have to do it all because they also have Cleveland Farrell. They also have Austin Bryant. We'll see if he can step up after an injury-plagued first 3 seasons with Detroit. These are all situations where the 49ers have players in depth, auxiliary roles behind stars up front, and they're going to have a chance to thrive. Everybody from Kevin Givens to hell, Javon Kinlaw, rotational piece now that the 49ers are excited about with Hargrave aboard. Javon Hargrave, this is Javon Kinlaw, by the way, different pronunciations of the first name. With Hargrave aboard, not as much pressure on Kinlaw's knee. Kalia Davis, T.Y. McGill, Alex Barrett rounded out. We'll see what Davis hasn't played a game yet. McGill was a good rotational piece for the 49ers last year. Should be that again. Barrett spent the past few seasons on the practice squad. We'll see if he finally cracks the rotation for some real playing time. But the 49ers, I mean, it was an off year for the D-line last year. Nick Bosa was really good, but everybody else was rather unremarkable for the 49ers. Yes, you got some production from Menahu and some from Ebukam, but didn't move the needle all that much. Not enough for the 49ers to re-sign those guys. It's time for the 49ers D-line to pick it back up. So they spent a ton of money on Javon Hargrave, and they think that that's going to be the domino that helps tip this group back into dominance. Right now, I have them ranked number 2 out of the 49ers defensive position groups. That means I have the linebackers ranked number 1. This is the best unit in the league, hands down. They lost Azeez Al-Shire to Tennessee, but they didn't lose Fred Warner. They didn't lose Dre Greenlaw. Oren Burks is a good number 3, is also really good on special teams. They've got a nice developmental prospect in Marcelino McCrary-Ball, Curtis Robinson, special teams guy, and Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, special teams guy, back with the 49ers after some restricted free agency this offseason. Well, he didn't even make it to restricted free agency. 49ers re-signed him on a tender deal. But that is the linebacker core. It is the best in the league. And it really binds everything together. As you can see, the D-line's up here. The secondary's here. You can argue rush over coverage, or you can argue coverage over rush all day, but it's the linebackers who are all in the middle, and they're doing both. They're covering, they're rushing, they're trying to stop the run. They're fast. The 49ers have set the standard in the league with the speed of the linebackers. Was the number 1 defense in the NFL last year for a reason, and the main reason was the linebacker position. Warner, Greenlaw, total studs. These 2 guys can really get it done. So new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, he might adapt some things. He might bring some more scheme complexity, especially to the back end, but the linebackers are going to be asked to cover. And as long as the linebackers are as good as the 49ers have them, they're going to be in solid shape. So anyway, summarizing this, 49ers defensive power rankings, Lenore and the corners, that's Charvarius Ward as well, number 4. The safeties, number 3. The defensive linemen, number 2. And the 49ers linebackers, number 1. This was the number 1 defense in football last year, and I think it only got better, especially since they picked up Javon Hargrave. We'll see how they fill out the depth over the course of the NFL draft. I know I mentioned a couple positions the 49ers will be interested in filling, but now they have some roster spots, and they have some mid to lower round draft capital to get it done. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Happy Easter. Everybody, take care.